Good morning, everyone. Let me also welcome our panelists. I can see, so Johary, are you here? Oh, you're here. I'm so sorry, I was seeing over there, so come. This is gonna be a very interesting discussion on how to monetize in Southeast Asia, so I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it. Along with that, my other panelists, George, Don and Shailesh, please join us in discussing how do we make money. The most interesting topic for all of us. Lots of money. No, make yourself comfortable. So let me just try and introduce myself first. I hope you guys have had coffee yesterday. So we are the one who sponsored it. So you should know us, hopefully, and the branding that Maxim and GMGC have given us. So thank you for all of that. But I would rather start off with giving the mic to my panelists to give a small introduction of what they have been doing and how can we make money.
Hi. Hi, good morning. I'm Johary Mustapha, CEO of Forest Interactive. Thank you for the introduction from POKKT. Also, thank you to GMGC for hosting us here. We basically operate in the Asian region, focus in Malaysia. We operate from a mobile content perspective with the mobile network operators, and we've turned into mobile publishers. We work with game developers and studios to find out how we could best monetize what they have to the markets that we operate in within a short span of publishing the game before it actually loses traction. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I guess Gamevil is one of the more established, oldest mobile game publishers in the world. James Sung, our CEO, set up the company in Seoul in 2002. Quite a long time back in the Java game feature phone business days. Being a dominant player actually in the South Korean market, we embarked on a global expansion mid of last year and set up the Southeast Asia office in October 2014. And I'm heading the Southeast Asia operations. Our office in Hanoi our office in Vietnam is in Hanoi, in fact. The Gamevil strategy, of course, centers on excellent products. We are mostly known for action RPG titles. I guess you know most of the titles that we run around the whole world. One of the most played games is Critica, still having 200,000 DAUs as we talk, or the just latest launched Dragon Blaze, which has been a top seller in South Korea and now also worldwide and here in Vietnam. Besides putting focus on products, it's also there's a shift in strategy that happened last year, which is putting emphasis on live operations and service quality. And so now we are one of the very few global mobile game publishers who puts emphasis on service quality and servicing its players. And so for us, localization is a key, meaning not only translating products, again, also all key products in Vietnamese or others relevant Southeast Asian languages, but also having local offices who are serving the local communities, who are delivering local customer services, who are testing actually on local handsets, doing QA, and also supporting local media. Last but not least, organizing local events in-game and offline.
That's interesting. Local events. Nice. Come on, Don.
Hi guys, my name is Don Sim. I'm the CEO of Daylight Studios and also Questrop. It's a bit of history. So Questrop is actually like a baby from a subsidiary of Daylight Studios, and I think we're like I'm probably like the youngest publisher among the whole lot of these guys. But our beginnings, we started off as a developer in Singapore. We started out in 2011, and we had a whole couple of million users in Southeast Asia. I believe we had hundreds of thousands of users in Vietnam back in the day when we were doing feature phone games. But this is actually my first time in Vietnam, so I'm really, really excited and very, very honored to be here. So, I mean, about 1 year ago, we started to notice certain trends in the market in Southeast Asia, and we saw a good opportunity, and that's why we started Questrop. What Questrop does is that of course, we're a mobile game publisher, but at the same time, what we've been doing for the past 12 months really is to establish very strong partnerships with local companies, local providers. We're talking about payment, we're talking about marketing, and right now we have, for example, we have more than 1,500 local marketing channels throughout Southeast Asia. And basically the point is, what we're doing is really to establish a strong publishing infrastructure where companies from Southeast Asia or outside of Southeast Asia, and primarily outside of Southeast Asia, can tap into and launch their games here into Southeast Asia with with a much greater chance of success and of course much deeper penetration. So that's really what we've been working on. And you know, I think we're confident to say that we're really one of the strongest in doing that already. So yeah, that's a quick introduction.
Okay, so one question if I can ask you. So this is your first time in Vietnam, you said.
That is true.
So how did you party last night?
Too much.
Too much.
Too
Okay,
much.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's a surprise I woke up this morning, but anyway, yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. Over to Shailesh.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming in and listening to us. A pleasure to be here. My name is Shailesh. I'm the founder and CEO of
Shailesh.
MatchMove.
Sorry, a little closer,
higher,
yeah.
little higher. Shailesh, founder and CEO of MatchMove. We are based in Singapore and have offices around Southeast Asia, Europe, and the US. We have two businesses. The first one we started out 6 years ago, which is called MatchMove Play, and essentially takes a Walmart approach to games. We say, you know how to make great games. There are many sites with lots of traffic. And just like we're talking about monetizing games,
Yes.
What we did was said to big traffic portals, monetize your traffic through games. 30% of people on the internet play games. And so big brands like Yahoo, ZTE in China, all the media brands in Southeast Asia, which have lots of traffic, wanted to offer games. And we provided the platform with which they could have content, social features, and payment methods. That business grew very well. We grew 900% compounded. We were named the fastest growing company in Southeast Asia. But we kept coming up across one pain point. And before I offend anyone, can I ask, is there anyone here from the telco?
Anyone from the telco industry?
Okay.
Okay, go offend them. Go offend them. Use the F word.
Let me say it, and I won't use the F word because it may be difficult to translate in Vietnamese, but let me just say this. If you are paying more than 5% revenue share to your payment channel, then screw it. There are better options, there are new ways to do it, and that's what we decided. So 2 years ago, we created a new division called MatchMove Pay, and the specific goal is to attack the very, very high and, dare I say, greedy margins that traditional payment channels have taken. It is wrong that you work so hard to create a beautiful game. It is wrong that you sweat nights thinking about how to get people to come back to it. It is wrong that you give some of it away or you partner with publishers only then to watch as the traditional payment channels take between 10, 15, 30, 40% in certain countries. It's robbery, it's almost criminal. So we decided that we need to attack this. There are ways to do it, and I'm sure we'll talk a little more.
For sure.
So
for
two
sure.
divisions, MatchMove Play and MatchMove Pay.
Yeah, I would also like to mention in India, for example, the telecom companies used to take almost 70%. Yeah, and now finally they have started agreeing to come to around 30%. But still they think that they need to have it in double digits. So the problem itself is not about 30 or 70, it's double digit. I don't think they should get double digits. So anyways, thank you all for the introductions, and the way I am gonna structure this whole discussion, because just to let you know, POKKT has also spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and one of the key learning that we got out of it is each country is different, each country has its own challenges, and so I'm gonna discuss the whole monetization approach probably towards the country driven. Since we are in Vietnam, maybe we should start with Vietnam in particular. And the first question that I would like to ask our publisher friends is that, is it really, really important to localize? Right, because there are a lot of efforts that go in terms of building a game, and then you have to localize, and not only in Vietnam, trust me, you go to Thailand, it's a different issue. You go to Indonesia, it's a different issue. Thankfully, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia are still English speaking. So that's not like a big challenge, but what do you guys think? How should a developer, look at the localization aspect? Johary, you want to start, or anyone can just start?
Okay, I'll just be short on this. It is very important, actually, if you look at addressing Southeast Asia is a point. Nimit was saying Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines. You could localize into English or have it on English. However, for say Thailand, Vietnam, and even Indonesia. I guess the importance will be looking at working with a local publisher who knows the territory, who are actually proven in terms of understanding what the mobile subscribers or the gamers want. So in this aspect, you would need to look at what are the key trends of localized games in those countries, rather than just publish it in English and look at how each gamers from each of the countries will look like.
Okay, so one of the learning that I'm getting from Johary is that when you're designing and when you're making your game, you need to think about the localization very strongly if the objective is to also monetize Southeast Asia, right?
Just to add, I guess it would also be good if you would actually listen to the publishers, because based on our experience, a lot of game studios have actually designed games not actually looking at how the local markets would accept those games. And sometimes the feedback that we give in, it might differ to how they think the game would fare. Of course, for publishers, I guess one of the most important drives is monetization. And it would not make sense if you can't monetize too much on the game if you don't really be flexible on the design or the game flow on how you actually push this to in-app purchases later on. Yeah. So I guess that's important, especially to get a lot of feedback from your partners.
Sure. I would also like to ask George, because you have now set up offices in Southeast Asia, so I'm sure there is a lot of thought process gone in the localization aspect.
Absolutely, and I fully agree with Johary. Our biggest, in each of the offices we have at the moment 6 to 8 people. We will be growing to 10 pretty soon, but the biggest teams actually are the localization management teams. And our general manager, Nareen in Thailand, he always says, we don't translate, we localize. And there's a fundamental difference in that. So there's still a lot of developers out there who translate, and there's still a lot of developers who Google Translate because they think actually that they do localize the game. Yeah. And we have actually a running gag in the company which is around the theme of localization. It's Serikat Buruh, which is Bahasa Indonesia, and it means trade union. So when we started to look into one of actually our most successful games, and we started to localize, we found out that the developer has translated the word guild with trade union. So, so imagine actually you invite somebody. Do you want to be part of my trade union, right? In the game? That's a fundamental difference to inviting somebody to play with your guild, right? So. So if you do localize, then get it right, because otherwise the local players actually in their own language, they will rather be offended than pleased.
For sure, for sure. So this is a very interesting point that you just raised, that, a lot of people think localization is all about just translating and, just putting those words from Google Translate. But thanks for that example. I'm going to remember that union thing, because it's the most scary thing. Yeah, it's one of the most scariest thing around. Yeah. But I'm sure, Don, you want to share some insights on this?
So, funny joke as well. One of the games that we were putting out in Southeast Asia had a phrase or sentence said, let's go into the woods, like the forest. And the translation, or the publisher we were working with, translated to let's go into the wood, like wood. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, localization is very important. I'd like to touch on a little bit about that as well. When we were evaluating the different countries for localization, and one of the countries was particularly interesting. I want to raise that. We're talking about Indonesia. In Indonesia, primarily, you find that there's a very big difference in the population, right? You have the extremely rich and well-educated people who study abroad. Many of them come to Singapore, so we actually know many of them. And there's a mass majority, right? And we're talking about 200 million people in Indonesia. And the part about localization, and of course you have to sort of think about that, is when we notice that when games do localize into Bahasa Indonesia, you find a strange reaction. So what happens is the local people, or the mass majority, will be able to play the game because it's in Bahasa Indonesia. But then the richer, the whales, the dolphins, the guys who are well educated or have rich wealthy backgrounds, will find that he will start to think that maybe this is a local game, and then and it might feel like, we don't really want to play a local game. They want to play a foreign game. They want to play something more exciting. And so sometimes they sort of boycott that subconsciously. And in that case, we also find that a couple of companies as well have mentioned that when their game is in English, they seem to make much more money. And because you're targeting the wealthy, the whales in the country. So I think it also depends on the game itself. So like if your game is designed to milk whales, then you definitely want to focus on targeting those users.
Sure.
But if you're making a game that is for the mass majority, then and you're talking about super casual kind of games, then maybe localizing makes sense. But in general, I think in Southeast Asia, localization is truly important. And of course, culturalization, which is a word now, is something to consider as well. What we tend to do is we prefer to just launch the game as it is, and to see how it works. But then, of course, using data analytics and tracking, to monitor how the KPI is working out, and then using that information to influence changes in the game, of course, with the developer and all that. And then, when you have data and says, well, the drop-off rate at this particular point is super high, so we got to fix that, right? And so that's something that I think is more credible and more concrete when you talk about moving and changing games for a particular country. I don't think that a developer, when he develops a game, he designs it for the global market. I think there's no way a game will fit super well in every single country. But if that particular region or the country is important, then you definitely want to have more culturalization and more zoom in to really try and improve the game.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So now let's jump to the most important thing, which we all are looking to hear, is how to make money. So my understanding is, obviously in-app purchase is the most important thing where you get the highest ARPU. But unfortunately, the credit card penetration, the alternate payment channels, the telecom companies, there are so many things that needs to be considered before you even start understanding how to monetize. So maybe, Shailesh could give us a little bit more idea as to, with such low credit card penetration and the in-app purchase of around 3 to 5%, how do you make money from the balance 95% players who are playing your games but just not contributing revenue?
Okay, sure. And if I can just lead off from the prior discussion on localization. So as mentioned, MatchMove Play does not, we just basically publish wholesale onto big platforms. And so we really don't go into the game idea or localization. But what we did learn, and I think you know this already, is that there are very strong parallels between games and movies and literature and other entertainment forms. And there's a reason why certain movies do really well in one country and completely flop in another. There's a reason why certain kinds of music does really well and in another. And the idea of thinking that just because it did well here is going to do well there. Now you can't, there are many copycat movies or songs that turn up, but in essence, I think the key issue about localization, culturalization is a mystery. If you work it out, you're smart. If you haven't, you have to keep trying. But that said, imagine that you've worked it out or you've half worked it out. You've got your translation right, you've got a game for your country and it's working, and now we have this problem. You've focused on building beautiful content, you've got a great publishing partner who's really marketing, but the problem is that you do not start to monetize really until you start to make 30% profit, because you're giving it away to the telcos. Now, the prior speaker talked about, I think, 8 million gamers in Vietnam,
Yeah.
with an average ARPU of about $2 for the second day purchase. So that's $16 million on the second day. 30% of that is going to the telco or to the payment channel, between 15. Who are you working for? Until you get to 30% margins and above, you are working for your payment channel. And yet, you're spending all your time localizing and all your time trying to culturalize or get something better than the competition. So this is where MatchMove Pay has come in. We're solving this problem about credit cards. When you use a credit card, you pay, in fact, the user does not pay anything. You pay, as a publisher, 3 to maximum 5%. Instead of paying 30, 40%, you're paying only 5%. But why doesn't everyone use it? Because credit cards are very hard to get. What started to happen is, just like technology is affecting everything else, technology is affecting the credit card industry as well. It is now possible for you to get a credit card with no credit, to get a credit card with no plastic, to get a credit card with no bank account, get a credit card with no filling in forms. You get it into your phone just like you get your game. You top up at a local channel without a bank if necessary, if a bank even faster, and then you pay for the game. This is sweeping many parts of the world. We're doing our best to do it here. So the final point is, we say credit card penetration is low, therefore we have to deal with, the bad guys. That choice is coming back to publishers to say, you can now have credit cards or credit card technology. You don't have to keep working for the other guys. You don't have to pay that 30% tax.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. But there's also one more thing that I would like to ask the publisher team, because if my understanding goes right, there is a big opportunity in terms of the prepaid cards that people use. So I have seen it in Philippines where, people are buying cards from 7-Eleven and then putting it inside the game to buy. So how important is that channel to monetize along with the Google Wallet, that you have in your game? So, Don, you want to start?
So basically, just to add a bit on what Shailesh just said, I think what most of the payment companies, the prepaid cards and this ATM billing, there was WAP billing before, and I think there still is, and of course you have your telco billing and all that. I think one is of course these guys have been in competition for decades, right?
Yeah.
And they've constantly trying to create a product differentiation or service differentiation. And in that sense, many of them have now, in pretty much the pitch is we have users. And I think one of the key points here is that with payment, and of course we right now for Questrop we are connected with over 30 payment gateways in Southeast Asia. And the truth here is that many of these payment gateways have a whole bunch of users. They have users that signed up through whatever registrations that they've done, or telcos just simply have subscribers. So many of these companies then, through those means can then attract companies to work with them, because then, okay, well, you use my payment, you give me a particular deal, say, for example, give me a promotion, and many of them do push for the promotion thing. So like, oh, maybe, for a week or a couple of days, if you top up using this particular channel, you get free extra credit. And in that case, they will then give you free marketing. And we're talking about marketing to paying users, right? Because these guys are signed up with the payment channel. So that's valuable in many ways. I mean, we know that for paying users range from anything from 1%, less than 1% to 3%, sometimes rare cases more than 3%. And so that effect is pretty sizable. And so I think and a lot of times when we evaluate a payment gateway to sign up for a partnership, we look at also what they can do for the games that we publish or the games that we help publish for our partners, and see what's the total value here, and is working with one enough, or should we be working with more? And this is a common question that we often get. And really, it's about market share. I mean, if a person is on one particular telco, he's not going to be able to pay using another telco, right? And so then what are the options available in each country, and what is the best strategy in general?
Okay, cool, thanks. George, you want to put some insights on this?
Yeah, I might go back to Shailesh and ask whether it's a super interesting solution that you presented, right? Is it capable actually to register and get a Google and Apple account with that solution?
Yes, you can, including PayPal. You can buy on Google. And I'd like to come back to that after you talk. But yes, it is, and it's available. It's happening. We have 2 banks in Vietnam who are supporting it. So it's arriving.
Yeah, super interesting, right? It's really cool.
Yeah.
I believe the essence Don said is the prepaid cards and other local payment channels are important. Right? And not only from a payment perspective, but also from the users behind it and the marketing actually and the reach that you get with payment. However, you would need to work with a company like MatchMove actually, who is then serving as a payment aggregator, or QuestDrop serving as a payment aggregator, because Don and his company has invested, as well as Shailesh has invested over the last years to build up these relations and to integrate the prepaid cards into the payment gateway. And there's rather very few companies who offer that. And if you go down that way on your own, you face enormous difficulties with first starting with business development, and then it goes down to legal signing contracts,
for sure.
Administration efforts. You need to integrate several SDKs. Then maybe your IT person leaves, and you are left with your payment gateway. You need to send out invoices, etc. So it's going to be a nightmare.
So let the experts do the job. Let the experts do that particular job. You just focus on your core aspect of development or publishing.
Right.
Yeah, okay, cool, makes sense. Joerg, any insights from a Malaysia point of view? How important is MOL?
Okay, your question is very interesting. In 2015, this year, we're always in the mobile side of the industry with the telcos. And the keyword for this year, earlier on in Mobile World Congress, was OTT. Right? Of course, when we go around during the game conference, most of the events, when we actually mention OTT, everyone will be saying, I'm sorry, did you say something? Right?
Yes, what is OTT?
So OTT is a keyword this year that the mobile network operators refer to as over the top, or also referred to here at this conference as applications or games, anything running on the data channel provided by the telco. So I agree with some of the comments earlier on. Telco does take a ridiculous amount of revenue share. We're seeing some of the mobile network operators or telcos this year actually waking up saying, so 50-50 revenue share is no longer good. It's an education process. But you also have to remember that a telco such as Viettel in Vietnam commands considerable amount of
Users.
influence and users.
Yeah.
As an example, in Indonesia, where we work with Telkomsel, they have about 140 million mobile subscribers.
Oh, yes.
And they do partnerships with people like Line, for example. And, Line started introducing games which were not popular on the Google Play Store before, but due to certain marketing efforts, it suddenly rose to number 2. So everyone in Indonesia was just wondering, where did this game come from?
Yeah.
And how the heck could it go to number 2 in the App Store? So I guess referring back to the question, you wouldn't actually have to be more open to working with multiple partners in a particular country. You look at credit card payments, you also have DCB or direct courier billing. What's interesting about the Southeast Asian market, of which a lot of people from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan still have a hard time understanding, is that 90 to 95% of our market is prepaid based.
Yes.
On mobile subscribers, and 5% is in postpaid, of which from East Asia, it's actually the opposite. 90 to 95% are postpaid
Postpaid,
based.
yeah.
So that is an issue when it comes to billing, successful transactions, and also reducing the amount of failed transactions that actually comes from telco billing. So these are some of the key aspects that you need to look into. Telcos are important partners, but only when you do get your good revenue shares.
Okay.
And they like to do burst promotion, meaning if it doesn't work out in a month, they'll look for a new game. So you must be open to all sorts of payment channels, and you need to look into this for each country you operate in.
Okay, so the interesting takeout that I'm getting out of this is obviously Google Wallet and Android and iOS wallet is important, but also partners like MatchMove is also important. But I also think MOL and all the other partners are important. And I like what Johary was saying, that telco also comes with its own benefits.
I'd like to comment.
Yes, you want to comment on it? Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so just to make it very clear, we need the telcos, if anyone's in doubt. But I want to tell you, your telco does not love you, okay? Your telco is not going to stick with you forever. And we deal with telcos too, and I want to tell you that I have had experience with telcos. Vietnam telco is great, not had this in Vietnam. But in a neighboring country with more than 100 million people, you can guess which one it is. One of the telcos contacted us and said, we want some of your games because this game company is doing so well, they're making too much money.
That was their pitch to you.
So put your games on so that we can do more revenue share and reduce their power. Telcos don't love you. They love the revenue you bring to them. So we're not saying let go. Of course, for a fast-growing company that's got or wants to get quick reach, you need the telcos. Please do that.
Sure.
But if you are saying that, you know what, as a publisher, I want to control my destiny. I don't want to depend on the telco to do marketing. I don't want to depend on the telco to be exclusive to me, even though they want me to be exclusive to them. If I want to have more power over my future, you need to look at alternative channels, and they're coming.
Yes, but if I have to now touch one of the topic which all of you developers love to use in your game, and that's advertising. One of the key things that I have come across where every developer that I meet has some or the other form of advertising inbuilt into their game to make money. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on how to make money through advertising, purely because all the points that you guys are saying are very good when you have a great game and when you have a mid-core or a hardcore game and it has a lot of DAUs or MAUs, right? But there are also developers who are unfortunate enough to not reach that kind of install base or the ARPU, right? So what would be your thoughts? Maybe, Johary and, the publishing friends can give us some idea on how do you make money out of advertising? Do you make money out of advertising? Let me first ask that question.
We're starting to. That's an interesting subject that you mentioned. I guess it has to go back to what form of monetization that you actually plan out for when you design a game. Advertising models are hugely popular, especially for new game developers or studios. Everyone's talking about hitting their first million and 10 million and probably emulating what Cheetah Mobile has done for their battery doctor.
For sure.
So we see that game developers or studios can't do this on their own. You need to depend or spend a lot on advertising dollars to promote an app or a game that you have. So I guess working with partners, it would depend on how far they can actually bring you to, what sort of downloads that you can look at, as well as what sort of rewards you'll be getting back in return. We see a lot of advertising networks there with outpayments, and I believe you should actually look at who brings you more benefits, who has a relation that they actually tell you how you would want to strategize on publishing your games or apps, and what sort of rewards or outpayments you enjoy from these companies. Yeah.
No, I agree. But the question that I want to put back to this is more of how do you choose your right advertising partner? Right. So, for example, if I have to say, and my limited understanding of Gamevil, I don't think Gamevil does any kind of advertising in their games. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm sure the paying users, I don't know how much percentage, but there's a lot of percentage of people who are not paying you right now. So is there a very specific reason why you're not looking at advertising?
Yeah, we had that in a panel yesterday, not to disturb players, not to disturb the game, etc. A general suggestion would probably be if you do not have a AAA title, then work actually with advertising solutions, because otherwise you would most likely not make enough money via in-app purchases.
Sure.
And then you need to exploit the advertisement route actually to make some decent money. However, advertisement solutions does not mean that you do not need an install base. On the contrary, you need a huge install base to make money with advertisements.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, actually, there's not enough page impressions.
No, but overall, you need install base to make money, even from an in-app purchase buyer, right? So
correct.
We agree, right?
But even more with advertisement, right? You need a broader mass actually of people to view your ads actually and to make money.
Sure.
Right?
I agree with you on that. Yeah, but if I also could ask, like you made a statement where one of the reason why you don't use advertisement is because you don't want to disturb the player and keep the game clean and don't irritate the players with advertisement. But there are solutions now available. So why aren't those kind of solutions used?
Yes, the first solution that comes to my mind, Nimit, is POKKT, of course.
Yeah, for sure. That's the reason I'm saying there is a solution available where there is no advertisement in the game unless the player selects.
Yeah. No, there are some really intelligent solutions, right, which do not disturb the player.
Yes.
But it's a strategy decision, and it's a focus actually on a pure play for the gamers actually, and to say, okay, here's a game, actually enjoy the game, and we will not disturb you with any advertisements. Although there are solutions actually we don't disturb you.
Yeah, for sure. But before I go to Don, maybe one just point of information sharing is like POKKT, for example, or all my friends, Wungle, Ad Colony, all of that. Thankfully, we've made a solution where if you say that you don't want to show an ad for say 20 levels in your game, okay, you can wait for it so that you can only show ads only to the non-paying users and not to your whales, right? So I think there is a lot of learning that all of our development partners, all the developers need to understand there are a lot of good solutions available. So, I do agree we don't want to disturb the game, but there are solutions where you say, like give you an example, Township, one of the big games from Russia, they have a video platform like POKKT and all the others integrated on the 19th level. Okay, trust me, I am on 38th level on that game. It took me 8 months to reach to 19th level. And then Township realizes, okay, Nimit will never going to pay me. Okay, now let's bombard him with a video ad so that now at least let's make money out of this player, right? So I do agree to you. But Don, do you wanna highlight, because I believe even you don't use advertisements.
I don't. Okay, so I mean, I imagine many of you guys are developers. Daylight Studios, which is the parent company of Questrop, has been developer for 4 years now. And as a developer, you know, you're always, I mean, we were always looking to get a publisher. And you got to understand the economics of this, right? So typically when I mean, how the whole ad monetization thing works is someone is paying for it, and therefore someone gets paid. And the person that's paying for it, the advertiser, basically spends a certain amount of CPI, cost per install, right? So say, for example, you're spending $1, and then of course, let's say POKKT takes 30 cents. Not sure how much you guys take. It could be more. And then the developer gets 70 cents, right? So then you're thinking about this, and in the first place, I mean, you have a game, and you go to publisher, and the publisher will be like, okay, well, this game looks pretty fun. So then he has to crunch numbers, right? I mean, publishing a game is not just emotional, it's financial, it's, you know, you have to project it. It's like, okay, so if we spent say $100,000 USD to promote this game, and this game's monetization system is ad monetization, and knowing that the general conversion rate for ad monetization is about 1/8 of in-app purchases. So say, for example, I spend $100,000, I don't really make much money from in-app purchase, and basically my monetization is through ads, then I'm spending $100,000, and even if 100% conversion, I make $70,000.
Yes.
So we spend $100,000, make $70,000, doesn't make sense. So generally for publishers, it doesn't attract us to publish a game that focuses on ad monetization. However, if I am certain that this game has certain appeal, and I can tap on channels that are cheaper than advertising, the typical mobile advertising. Say, for example, I have connections with various, say, organizations or clubs or whatever it is, and I can push this game through those channels, then maybe it'll make sense. But it's a very strategic move. Because no publisher, I mean, when we choose to publish a game, you don't just publish the game. You have to market it, you have to operate it, you have to do all the necessary steps to make sure this game does well. But if the game is focused on ad monetization, it's hard for us to say, okay, we're going to take this game. Because then how do we plan out 12 months? How do we plan out the monetization of this game? And so for us, I mean, in general, we focus on games that have strong in-app purchase. And the truth is, again, and I agree with what Joerg said, is that you need to have an install base. And where does that install base come from? And how do you then market, you know, rather to show them these ads if you don't have an install base? And if you have a DAU of 100 people, how much money do you expect to make? And that's a really big problem. And so when we think about it, it kind of doesn't make sense. However, that being said, what we are open to, and of course what we are also constantly thinking about, is cross-marketing, where we actually exchange users with a whole bunch of users with another publisher, with possibly a similar game. So maybe some of our users who don't pay can go over to his game, and some of his users that don't pay come over to our game, and then maybe they'll start paying in a different game. But that's kind of where we're looking at. Yeah.
Okay. Shailesh, I would rather stick to the advertising on this side of the thing, or do you have something to contribute?
No comment.
No comments, okay. Only telco and payments that you want to do. Right. But if I have to ask, and you know, I understand from your perspective the way you are saying it, but I also understand there are a lot of developers who self-publish it. They don't go to a publisher, okay? Or they don't really have a good title that is, you know, gonna meet the standards of your publishing. But what would be your suggestions? Like if they want to look at advertising, okay, what should be? Should it be banners? Should it be interstitial? Should it be video ads, offer wall? Because giving everything into inside a game also irritates a player, right? but at the end of the day, they want to monetize. So what would be the suggestion that you would like to offer?
So, sorry, I'm just going to jump in. So, there are a couple of games that have done this extremely well. We're talking about ad monetization, and of course, guys like Tap Titans and also Bitcoin Billionaire, for example, where you design, but that game is designed around ad monetization, right? And basically, from day one, decided we're going to make money from ads, and that's how it's done. They've designed a way where watching a video is rewarding, so rewarding that it's okay. Like, I've personally played a lot of Tap Titans. I have touched the screen to attack more than 500,000 times, and I've watched probably 400 videos.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's a game that's very well designed for that. But those kind of games are rare. And again, how did they become successful? Because they pretty much designed a really good-looking game, really good experience, and they got featured by Apple and Google, the gods of Apple and Google. And that basically got them a whole bunch of downloads, and then they got their huge ad monetization. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just happy to understand that I did a good career move by being into the rewarded video inventory business. Okay, thanks, Don. Thanks for that statement. So I think we'll have to end, summarize this thing because of the time restrictions that we have. But I would still leave you guys to maybe if you want to say something in particular to the audience, we'll be happy to summarize after that. Shailesh,
Sure, let me go quickly. So we were introduced to the idea of OTT, over the top, which basically is a term that my friends, the telcos, are afraid of because everything is going over the top of their network. Thanks to data plans, payments are going over the top. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Don, anything in the end?
No, but just really quickly, what QuestDrop is looking for is good partners in Southeast Asia to expand our reach and our infrastructure. So very happy to meet with any partners in Vietnam as well. We've spoken to a couple already in this couple of days, but we're happy to meet more. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Don. In the near future, we are looking for a marketing manager and a community manager. So if you are interested, then please send your application. Thank you.
I think talent is something which you should hire at all events and conferences. That's a good move, man. Joerg, you wanna?
For the past 24 hours, we met a lot of Vietnamese game companies who are only focused on the Vietnam market. I'd say why focus only on one? You're launching your game and it's gonna go out of the market by the 12th or 13th month. Diversify, work with multiple publishers, look at other countries, because once you launch in Vietnam, you need to do a repeated launch on the other countries as well. So broaden up your
keep it broad-minded.
Yeah,
Don't just
right.
restrict to one particular market.
And do talk to us as well.
Great. So just to summarize, friends, thank you first of all for hearing this this discussion. But the key understanding that that I could make out is obviously there are alternate payment channels that should be explored. Very particularly like MatchMove is doing. I think Gamevil should be one of your customers very soon because George looks quite interesting to what you've been saying. So the publishers are understanding. So all my developer friends, you should understand. And very rightly, like from an advertising point of view, it's very important to select the right advertising method rather than just selecting a banner or an interstitial or a rewarded video or an offer wall. Depending on the game that you have, you need to select the right monetization tool. So in the end, thank you all. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your knowledge sharing. I hope it was fruitful for all of you. So thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.